Hello and welcome back to the PuckLuck.com betting and fantasy team preview for the Detroit Red Wings, a team that, in 25 straight years of playoff hockey, Zetterberg, Datsuk, all the boys, they're right behind me in the video right now, Lindstrom, just years and years of amazing, amazing hockey, multiple Stanley Cups come to an end. 7 straight years now without a playoff game in Hockey Town. And they got CVY at the helm. They have a lot of talent on this roster, but is it going to get there this year? Are they going to? Is it going to be 8 years of playoffs hockey, or is the streak going to end? And it's a loaded Atlantic, it's a loaded Eastern Conference in general, and there's definitely some horses in the barn here for Detroit. Are they going to be fighting for one of those playoff spots or not? Is the question that we're going to answer here today. So getting started with the PuckLuck.com point projection, we have them at 81, which is one more than their total last year at 80. And yeah, that's certainly not going to get it done. I tend to agree largely with this projection around the 81 mark. I don't really think this team can get there without sensational goaltending. And it would have to be getting back to the Billy Huso we were used to before before last year, where he just didn't quite have it. Um, yeah, we're gonna go through the roster at the end, so there's really no point in harping on it too much. But this team it's getting there. It should be competitive. I don't think there's any teams that they're demonstrably worse than really in this league. It's not like that. It's just overall is this an elite hockey team with any stars? Who is the superstar on this team? And if they have it and they just haven't shown it yet, they better show it now. Because if they don't have a player that takes a Tage Thompson level leap, if Sider cannot become, an elite top end defenseman this year, I think this team is going to struggle to find a way to really get where I'm sure many fans are assuming and hoping they're going to get to in a short amount of time. So going over the projections for DraftKings Sportsbook, we have them at plus 400 to make the playoffs, and DraftKings has them at plus 230. Might make you feel a little bit better if you're a Red Wings fan. That's not too far off. The sports books definitely are more favorable of this team than we are. Division, we're not even close at plus 9,000, not even remotely close. And Cup, just again, not quite getting there. So I have no interest in any of these bets. I might take a stab at the under. 85 and a half is probably about the closest you go for me to like want to actually bite. But I don't know. It's kind of it's enticing enough, like I said, to consider. Is there enough juice, enough meat on the bone here for me? Like I said, to lock up money for all the entire DFS season. I'm gonna say I probably don't. But I definitely think if you're lower than even we are, it's definitely worth looking at. Because I think there's one bet here that I think is my favorite, and I've already bet it in a couple of capacities. So we're gonna get over the point projections. We have DeBrincat, Larkin, Perron. I think the outlier here is Dylan Sprong, where the model kind of struggles to conceptualize Dylan Sprong, who contributed such an unbelievable amount at 5-on-5, that it's like, well, what if his role is super big now? I am sure it's not going to just take that sort of trajectory, but our model, of course, it's just as good as math can tell it. And he just, no matter how much this guy scores, no one seems to want him. So maybe he's going to find a really perfect fit here in Detroit. But again, if you see these projections, you're seeing guys like Lucas Raymond, who's just at a peak of 56 points, and I think he's a much better player than that, but he has to come out and absolutely put it together this year with, guys I'm already alluding to, more talent around him, JT Comfort, etc. So where I think my favorite bet is, and I think you compare two of these things together, like I mentioned, and I have, is taking a Dylan Larkin under 76 and a half points with a Alex Brinkett under 35 and a half goals. Those are two things that I kind of love to pair together. And like I said, if your BAP and everything you do is different than what I have, and you think that that's a better over, again, I think pairing them together in either capacity is likely smart. If we, as soon as we get confirmation that they're definitely going to align together, but pretty sure that's what we have. And if that's not what we have, again, wait until we see the lines in training camp and go from there. Yeah, I thought it was. I just didn't want to say it and be wrong. But yeah, DeBrincat, Larkin, and Raymond is what I'm expecting as well. Probably going to be power play correlated. So if you think, man, this Red Wings team isn't going to get there, they're going to be like an 80-point team, and Larkin doesn't get to that 76 and a half mark, I think it's pretty likely that DeBrincat doesn't get to 36 goals either. That's a ton of goals, and it's my favorite bet on the board for kind of a pairing. Maybe so far, I liked the Dallas pairing of Robertson and Hintz a lot for the over. And you could put all four of those things together, and like I think you have a really good pick 'em slip there that has just it's getting value through itself. Of course, any player can get injured at any time, but if we assume all four of those players, I guess well, it's depending on the over under you're taking, but again, like I think that that's kind of how I want to do it. We also get to the rest of this roster. Comp for Perron. That's a solid enough second line with some scoring potential. Sprong, I've already talked about being a really, really consistent 5-on-5 goal scorer and a lethal weapon on a second power play where I think he'll fit in. But name one superstar on that forward list, and you can argue to it. I think you're wrong to argue Larkin, but maybe there's another step in his game that we just haven't seen yet. Defense, Sider is a very good player. If he can take another step this year, if Wallman continues to be incredibly useful. Again, I know I had some slander against Wallman. I didn't mean it. He's a good player. This seems like there's enough potential throughout this roster. And there's really not a guy just dragging him down. There's not an AHL quality guy. I'm looking at this looking at this roster and thinking there's no way they have a complete team. They have four lines. They have three sets of D. Goaltending is a bit of a question mark. Not really sure if Reimer has it anymore. He should be built better as just a backup and not on San Jose. So we'll see. And Huso had it last year. Didn't really have it. Had it in St. Louis. So I'm optimistic that this team's going in the right direction. 100%. I think there's a lot of talent. There's some prospects coming through. I don't think it's going to be down and out for long. But for them to take a jump to the playoffs, it would take quite a bit. So I'm going to be, again, kind of fading this Red Wings team overall under on DeBrincat, 35 and a half, under on Larkin, 76 and a half. And I'm pairing those together. But honestly, I'd take DeBrincat under on goals on its own. Um, Great player, definitely has a lethal shot. He's playing with better talent, but how much better than Ottawa, really? Again, that's going to be Detroit. I'm sorry to be so negative to any Red Wings fans. Comment, tell me I'm wrong, tell me why I'm wrong. Do all that stuff. Engage. Whatever I'm supposed to say here. So we'll be back with Edmonton next. A lot of talent on that roster as well. So we'll talk to you soon.